Stories Podcast, your number one show for everything guitar.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Guitar Stories, episode number 64. Hi, Dan.
Hello, Andy, and welcome everyone to this very special episode. How are you, Andy?
Really good. Really good. Been playing lots of guitar. Been playing lots of pedals and all kinds of things. Been having a really good guitar time. I felt I went off it a little bit at the beginning of the year, and now I'm back and I'm excited. And every time I pick up a guitar, I feel reinvigorated, and that's a good place to be.
Absolutely.
How about yourself?
I feel pretty much the same. I spent last night spending hours learning the new Black Summer song from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Digging that a lot. We talked about that. That's the song we actually wanted to talk about, but never really got to talk about. A lot of embellishments and intricate parts that aren't necessarily to be heard when you first hear it, but I'm really digging the vibe, and I like those songs that kind of make me grab a guitar and try to play along with it. So having a good time too.
Good. That's nice. I'm excited about our guest this evening.
Yes.
Now, Simon, his surname, do you want to pronounce it as the resident native German speaker?
Yeah, well, his first name would also be pronounced differently,
Simon,
right?
Sorry,
Simon.
Yeah.
Simon Gauf.
Gauf.
He's our
I did
guest.
get it right then. I kind of got it right. He's our guest. He is from GuitarPoint. We're going to bring him in just a moment. Dan, I believe you've prepared a little sort of introduction for Simon.
That is correct. That's correct. I hope I do him justice. Do you want me to start with it?
Yeah, why not?
All right. So, our guest today is Simon Gauf, or Simon Gauf, guitarist, daddy of 3 kids. By the way, congratulations on number 3, named Sam. And he's also managing director at GuitarPoint Maintal. Simon grew a reputation as a custom shop expert in his days as a guitar purchasing manager at Session in Frankfurt, Germany, where he used to visit the big American custom shops multiple times and got to spec dozens of high-end guitars for his customers. Simon would later move on and join the team at GuitarPoint Maintal, honing his skills as a vintage guitar expert under GuitarPoint's founder Detlef Alder. 3 years ago, he followed in Detlef's footsteps and became the new managing director at GuitarPoint and is now running one of the world's most renowned vintage guitar shops in the world, welcoming the likes of Joe Bonamassa or Billy Gibbons as regular customers. In his role, Simon also gets to travel the world and has picked up countless Gibson Burrs and early Fenders, sometimes buying a plane ticket not just for him, but also for the guitar. And most importantly, Simon is an acclaimed guitarist himself who doesn't shy away from using vintage gear on stage. So it's a great pleasure to have him on the show and talk about his experiences in the vintage guitar world. Welcome, Simon.
Hey,
Simon.
Thanks for the introduction.
You're very welcome. How close
Welcome
was
to
I?
Guitar Stories. Sorry, Dan.
No worries. How close was that from 0 to 100%? Like, how much Simon did I
Maybe
capture?
95%. I don't
right.
recall Billy Gibbons as a customer yet. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I had it maybe somewhere in the back of my head, but yeah.
Yeah.
If he's no returning customer, he definitely needs to be.
Absolutely.
And if he's listening or watching now, then Billy, what are you playing at? Get yourself to Germany and get yourself a brand new guitar, a brand new old guitar.
Absolutely, when they're allowed to travel again, but we're close, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, just browse the website, which we might as well promote right at the beginning of the show, guitarpoint.de. And it's there in German and in English for anybody that wants
It's
to speak
actually
those 2
in
languages.
English.
It's mainly in English, right? Oh, it's in English.
Mainly in
Okay.
English. So the checkout process is switchable. So it's also German speaking, but if you visit guitarpoint.com, it's fully in English.
All right.
Nice.
Just make
Okay.
sure to put the wallet and your credit card far, far away. It's very tempting.
Tempting.
Yeah, we're going to get into the GuitarPoint chat in a little bit because I'm sure there's some. Or Dan and I both have some questions for you, but I'm sure there's going to be some questions from the chat. So, chat people, welcome to the show. If you're watching and listening live, hello to Valeria, hello to RT Smudge, to Guitar Ruckus, to Gunraw Guitar, to Buzzle, to Alexis Guitars, to Brad Guitar Miller. Fergie and Francis with us, hopefully with SJ. Cranar is here. Hey, Cranar. And Yankee Mike, Jason Welch, and one more, Michael, is here. So if you're here and I haven't mentioned you, apologies, but I can only read so many lines on my chat. We've got some guitar news for you. We'll go straight into the news. It is not good news, Dan. Dan, you informed me of this news a few days ago. Do you want to read us through the latest news?
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily news as in happened yesterday, but as of, I think, the morning of Wednesday last week, there was a fire at the Fender factory in Ensenada in the morning. And luckily nobody got hurt, and I haven't heard about damaged or destroyed guitars or big issues on their side, but it's still always frightening if you see a big operation like Fender being under fire. And it was actually also, I think, the second big fire. We also had last year the fire at Boutique Amp Distribution's neighbors. So yeah, fingers crossed that everything will be in place pretty soon. But yeah, that was a little bit of a shock in the morning to see a factory being burning.
I woke up to that news from you, Dan, and I was very worried because any guitar industry or establishment that goes on fire, guitars generally being made of wood means they tend to burn quite well. But it seems that the fire services got that under control, and as you said, no one was hurt. So that's where we can talk about it and not be too concerned. But also, I hope that things are under control with fire regulations. They seem to be. And Simon, what's your take on that as like a fire at a guitar place? That's, I guess, nightmare number one.
I think a fire is terrible at every place where people could get hurt, but obviously we don't want a guitar to get burned, right? So,
no.
Yeah, sure, terrible.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much it for the news. We just wanted to say hi to Fender and gladly that nothing was happening there in Mexico. Yeah. And we have a Fender on the show today. Someone picked one for the gear pick. But Simon, sometimes we let the guest choose who is going to get the pick of the week first from the gear. It always ends up with the guest saying, "Oh, you just choose who you want to." And because you're such a polite chap, I'm going to make the decision this week because I think we might have to happen again because you're so polite. So I am going to let Dan pick first. That's my request, is that Dan picks first. I hope everybody's okay with that. So with that, we'll have Dan's pick of the week.
Dan's pick of the week. Dan's pick of the week.
Here we are. Where's the pick, my friend?
Yeah, oh, you want the photo already? Oh, there it is. Hang on.
Yeah. Sacrilege. No Ibanez this week. But actually,
you've chosen a different brand of guitar.
A different brand of guitar, yeah. But that was really one of the guitars where I immediately had to send you a message about, look at how hot this thing turned out. So I'm by no means a Jackson aficionado, but when I saw that, lime green transparent over Aztec gold, I was madly in love with that color combination, also with that heavily used look. So it's a custom DK24 by Pat Campolatano, and yeah, I mean that looks gorgeous. I love the look of the swamp ash body that kind of gets through. We've got a quarter saw maple neck, 3D Marcio pickups. I think it's the Sugar Chakra and the Tone Zone, if I'm not mistaken. It's got stainless steel frets, which is always a nice addition to a vintage vibey instrument. And yeah, apart from that, I'm just digging the looks. I'm not a big fan of green guitars, but I was immediately sold on that. And a big shout out to Pat. He's on Instagram under pfc.g, and you can check out his latest creations. And he's one of the master luthiers that I'm most gravitating towards because he does things differently. And yeah, it's just a pretty rad looking guitar. And actually, one thing that I just found out while I was looking at the screen right now is that the reverse headstock, the Jackson headstock, is identical to my first guitar, which was a Squier. What was it? Headmaster series. It was a purple sparkle Stagemaster. There you go, Stagemaster series. Yeah. Actually, still not too bad as a guitar, but that was my first real instrument after the Hurticaster. Where you would cut your hands.
I think it's a solid pick, Dan. That's a beautiful looking guitar.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
also
agree.
don't own any green guitars. So I need to change that. Oh no, I don't have any green guitars at all, and I need to change that. So what price would I need to pay to add that Jackson to my collection?
I have no clue because I saw it on Instagram on his account, but I'm pretty sure as a custom shop it will probably clock in at 4 or 5K at
$4,000 or
least.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Would that be
maybe
something
that's
you'd
not
be gigging with?
my choice.
You guys, would you gig with that?
Yeah, I would. Simon?
I don't know if I would gig with it, but I like it. I mean, it's a pretty cool color. Yeah. I like colorful guitars.
One of my favorite colors is the green. What's it called? Olive green from olive drab green from Gibson.
I love it. Yeah, I think Gibson has it as well. The Les Paul in olive drab is beautiful.
That's
it's cool.
Yeah,
it's not as
one of my
bright
favorite
and
colors.
as shiny. Yeah,
but that is a bit more. It's got a hint of olive drab to it. I like it where it's worn away, but that is more limey.
It's more metallic.
I would say. Yeah, more metallic. Okay,
Also,
I think that's a solid pick, Dan.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Apart from the price, I would absolutely go for that.
Yeah.
And even still, if it really played well, which I'm sure it does, then the price wouldn't be too much of an issue. If I could possibly sell one of my children or something.
Kidney.
In fact, you know something? We've all gone for something kind of green. There's a green theme with the gear this week.
Oh, there you go. Oh, the Green
odd.
Week.
Well, I'm going to go for my pick of the week, and we'll leave you waiting for Simon's pick at the end. So it's time for my pick of the week.
Andy's pick of the week.
I have cheated this week, and I've gone for 2 picks of the week that are kind of the same thing. I hope that's okay. It is the Roland Space Echo revisioned in the Space Echo RE2 from Boss, and the Tape Echo, in fact, I don't know what the model number is, from Nuex, or Nux as some people call it, the NDD-7. So within the space of a few days, we've had 2 new pedals announced that are the Space Echo, the classic Boss tape-based delay and reverb kind of thing with a beautiful preamp. And the Boss one was announced a little bit too early in the sense that it was announced on eBay, leaked on eBay by some people that were trying to sell, I think, 30 of them, and Boss were not too happy about that. So then Boss actually confirmed that it is real and it is coming, but there was one of those products that was not sure if it was real for a while. And then Nuex have come out with their version, which is going to be, let's say, a more affordable version of it today. So as of today, Tuesday, that's new this week. And I don't know which one to go for, but the Nuex seems to be slightly more featureful than the Boss. So, firstly, the Nuex has MIDI in and out, which, as far as I know, is not something they've done before. It's got this mini 3.5 jack MIDI stuff. And also, you've got concentric knobs on the Boss, but the Nuex version has more open knobs and seems to be, I think, stereo. I've never had a real Space Echo, but I have had an RE20 and I love it. And I've got some plugins which are Space Echo based and one from IK Multimedia, and I love what that machine does. I've played an original Space Echo, and it's amazing fun. So I'm excited to see these 2 back on the new on the market. The Nuex is coming in at around 150 euros ish. And I'm guessing the Boss is going to be a little bit more expensive, more around 200 euros. But that's pure speculation. But most importantly, they're both green.
What a coincidence.
Yeah. Simon's frozen on my camera. Is he frozen for you?
Nope.
No.
He's just fine.
Oh, well then...
I'm still here. I just didn't.
Okay. Cool. Well, you're frozen for me, but that's okay. We can continue. Okay. Yeah, so that's my pick of the week. 2 pedals. We've got a guitar, 2 pedals. We're waiting for our guest chat. I'll just check the... No. Yeah, some people Yeah, thanks, Valeria. I am cheating, but you know, it's our show. We can do what we want. Simon, you've got a pick of the week. It is something a little bit special.
Hmm?
You've got it here.
Yeah,
You've got it with you.
I got it here.
Wow.
It's green.
Oh, I can't see you because it's frozen on my screen.
Yeah, everybody else can.
Oh, that's not fair. I have to wait for the catch up. Oh, there it is. Oh my goodness. Right, please continue,
Cool.
Simon. Tell us about it, and I'll shut up.
It's a Strat. You can see it. It's a brand new custom shop Strat. I spec'd it last year. It's super faded aged seafoam green sparkle. Yeah, that's a name, right? It's a kind of a 63-ish style. I'm not really after these year descriptions because it's basically a custom shop Strat with a rosewood fretboard. And it's got 3 Josephina wound, like the John Cruz bone pickups.
Nice.
It's a nice one, yeah, because you don't see that color very often. So it's kind of a seafoam green with some sparkle added.
Simon, do you mind if I make you full screen? Because as you've got it, if I put you full screen, you can get... Oops, no, that's me. There we go. Wow, look at that.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, if you're listening to the audio version, you need to get yourself to guitarpoint.com and have a look at that. It's beautiful.
Yeah. That's really cool.
From a distance, it almost looks as if the guitar would be wet because of the sparkle.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool effect. Yeah. Like surf color,
right
literally taken.
Yeah.
That's pretty
So
cool.
what are we looking at, Simon? Rosewood fretboard, maple neck, alder body?
Yeah, alder body. Since it's a 60s. Yeah, if they were not blonde, they're alder bodies. But that's like vintage stuff. That's not really a custom shop guitar can be everything. I think that's just something that you like, and they do that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Is that
It's
a new
pretty
finish?
cool. Sorry?
Is that a new finish, or is that already around for?
I don't know when they came up with it. I'm custom shop dealer since last year, basically. So before that, I was totally into vintage only. But it's around for a while. I've seen some of them. I've got a bass with the same color. Yeah.
Someone just brought
P-bass.
that up.
59
Gunroll guitar.
P-bass.
Yeah, Gunroll guitar said there's a bass too as well.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Wow. So naturally, if you're going to buy one, you need to buy the other as well for the matching pair.
Of course. Yeah, that's a perfect matching pair.
Huh.
Simon, your guitar's gone down very well in the chat. I think you might have some new friends, at least some new visits to the website tonight, with some people definitely hiding their credit card. It's a beautiful guitar. I did tell you about this before we came along. We get to choose which is our favorite pick, and we do that through the method of what we call buy, borrow, or burn.
Yeah.
And that means there are 3 picks, and you have to choose which one you would buy, which one you would borrow, and which one you would burn.
Sadly.
And it's just a game, so no one has to get upset in case anyone burns something they're emotionally attached to. But I'll play the jingle to give yourself a little bit of time to think. And I'll go first tonight, if that's okay. I feel like going first again.
Sure.
I borrow or burn? Okay, right. Straight on it. I'm having tough trouble between the Jackson and the Fender custom shop because, in fact, Simon, I need to ask you, how much is that custom shop Strat that you spec'd?
It's 5.5.
Okay, so the Jackson is around, let's say, around 4,000. So the Fender is more expensive, but still, if you're going to spend 4, why not spend 5.5? I know that's a terrible justification, but if anyone's going to spend 4,000 euros on a guitar, then they might also spend 5.5. It's not too much of a stretch.
That's true.
I so want to be guest in your house when you are sitting next to your wife and you explain her, if you're going to spend $4,000 on a guitar, why not go 5.5? Come on, where's the point?
Go hard or go home. So I am going to buy the Fender. I'm going to borrow the pedals and burn the Jackson, but that is going to hurt me hardly. Oh. Okay, that's my choice. Yeah, buy the Fender, borrow the pedals, burn the Jackson.
Okay.
Dan, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Okay. I probably burned the pedals because my pedal board is already pretty full and I don't have too much real estate on my board left. Then definitely tried the Fender, but I mean I was so sold to the green color that if I had the money and I was in the market for a guitar of that style, I'd definitely buy the DK22.
So which one are you burning? The pedals.
Yeah, the pedals.
Okay,
I don't think they will
pedals.
burn pretty well, but you know.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to be around if and when they do. Okay, Simon, before we go to you, we're going to go to the people in the chat, see what they're going to do, see if the Fender is also still popular. Sarang would buy the Fender because the factory is already burning. Different factory, but yeah, okay. Borrow the Space Echoes, burn the Jackson and be very, very sad. Okay, so Sarang and I have the same pick this week. Alexis Guitars wants to know if anyone is picking the new X over the Fender Custom. Poo Ninja is cheating. Poo Ninja wants to borrow everything. No, you may not do that. Valeria is buying the Space Echo, borrowing the Fender because she feels sad for them today, and burning the Hulk Jackson. That is a good name for the guitar, the Hulk Jackson. Fergie in France will buy the Boss Space Echo, borrow the Jackson, burn the Fender Strat. It's just another Strat that's defeating the purpose of being a Strat, originally designed to be affordable and build and sell. Oh my goodness. That is a very controversial view from someone in France. I think he's expecting some kind of response, but I'm not going to give him one. Let's see if there's anyone else who's doing it. Melodify is going to buy the Fender, borrow the Jackson, burn the pedal. Okay, so interesting choices this week. Now it's time to go to our guest. Simon, what would you do with those 3 gear picks?
I definitely burn the pedals because I don't care for pedals. I'm one of the rare guitar players who can save a lot of money. I never played pedals. I never used them for anything. Tuner pedals.
All right.
Noise gate.
Okay.
Anyway, and I'd borrow the Jackson, but I'm buying this Strat. Might do. I don't know.
I thought you might. I think that's fair, seeing as you spec'd it and you've got it in your hands right now.
I'm a Sparkle guy. I never really owned them, but I love them.
Cool.
Yeah.
I was just wondering what was the lead time to get a guitar like that built at the custom shop?
I think less than 6 months. Usually it's like 12, but some of them come earlier. This one was an exception, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
But usually it's 12 months.
Okay.
I think it depends. Maybe they just were building some of Sparkle finished guitars in the factory and made this happen earlier. But usually it's 12. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Sounds good.
I've just put the link to that guitar at GuitarPoint in the chat if anybody wants to go and have a look. And it's not an affiliate link, but if anyone wants to chuck €50 my way if they buy it, I'm happy with that. Or just let me have a go on it, please.
Yeah.
So I got to say, 2 beautiful guitars this week. I'm really and all green. That's a big surprise.
Yeah. And 2 very sad pedals.
Dan,
but I also got to say, I feel very sorry for the Space Echo, because I was just looking up the Boss website, and like the actual release is such a super sad site that just says RE2 Space Echo. Then you've got a couple sentences, and then it says coming soon. And you know, as someone who's working in the industry, I think this is like the worst that could happen if you have a great product that's just around the corner, and then some stupid son of a gun is kind of leaking that stuff on Reverb or eBay. They're just horrible. So they obviously, I mean, it screams like they obviously just put up some sort of website to collect some initial interest and inform people when it gets dropped. But Like that's the worst that could happen. So yeah, boss team.
I mean, I reached out to them because I wanted to try one, and also to say sorry about the leak. Not that I was involved in the leak at all, but I can say it was a true leak and it wasn't planned or anything like that, because it is possible that some companies leak stuff just to, get a bit more promotion than they should. But that seems like a true leak. Also doubly sad because then another company comes along with another pedal based on their pedal and then definitely undercuts them on price. So
you mean another company comes up with an Echo? That would be...
Yes. I mean, yeah. Your sense of humor fits well on the show, Simon. Also, I said this before we went live, but Simon and I are not related in any way. We just have the same awesome kind of hair.
Yeah, it's growing, right? Yeah. And yours is, you cut your hair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you. I stalk you.
I cut it. Yeah. Apparently, it grows back.
Yeah.
I needed it so I can fit in the frame in the podcast. When I have big hair, it doesn't fit in, and I need to show more guitars behind me for more fun. Sorry, I'm drinking every 2 seconds. I'm really thirsty tonight. I had a very salty dinner. Simon, we've had your introduction. I'm going to open the chat up for questions for Simon, because we can stick them in a little pot for questions. But I know Dan and I have prepared some questions, and Dan is currently reading through those questions. So maybe Dan, you could kick us off with a question for Simon from GuitarPoint, our resident vintage guitar expert. Firstly, Simon, thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully,
thanks for having me.
If anyone's got any questions, you can answer them.
Yeah. But maybe to put it, make it, to just not come into that kind of interrogation mode. Let's just kick it off with Simon. Could you let us know what does your daily job look like at GuitarPoint? What is it to run one of the most renowned vintage guitar stores in the world?
Well, nowadays it's chasing guitars. So that's what I do every day, everywhere in the world. I'm looking for guitars. I can't order them. I have to find them somewhere. And that's the main thing I do.
Okay, sourcing stuff. And how do you get hold of them? I would assume that given the reputation that GuitarPoint has, that if someone found a nice burst on the attic, they would probably either reach out to some of the big US vintage dealers, or to you if he was located in Europe. So is it like, what's the percentage? How many guitars do you have to chase down, and how many guitars are being offered to you?
A lot of them are offered to us because we reached a size and a reputation where people really get in touch with us if they want to sell something, or even if they inherit something. We got offers daily, but it doesn't mean that you close a deal. So you always have to make both sides happy, the customers and of course us as the dealers. And we buy collections. There's a lot of travel involved. So I drove a lot. That's what I didn't do in the past. But since the pandemic, we were limited to travel internationally. So I'm driving across Europe to meet people in parking lots.
Is that the case that you meet
sometimes,
in a? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice. Those guitar safaris, like, where have they taken you within Europe by car? Like, what was the farthest that you went, or even the most?
I think the farthest was Greece, but I didn't drive there, obviously, in Europe. But usually it's France, Netherlands, Italy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the guitars that you have in a GuitarPoint, is it mainly or solely Fender and Gibson, or do you have other brands as well?
I'm focusing on Fender and Gibson. We used to do some German brands or more or less known brands in the past, but yeah, I have the most fun with the big two. Maybe Gretsch, Rickenbacker, but people are interested in Fender and Gibson mainly. Yeah, that's like 90% of the requests demand.
And on the other side of, like, it's super interesting how you acquire these guitars, but on the other side from the customer, who is your typical customer, if there is such a thing?
It's not many professional musicians. So it's usually people who play guitar not for a living, but for fun as a hobby when they come home from work. It's usually people who work a lot and make themselves happy purchasing a nice guitar. It doesn't have to be a burst. So there's so many lower priced instruments that are very interesting and very sought after, like 70s or even 80s models. It's so it's every age, of course, not a student, but usually I would say starting from 30 to like 70 or something. Yeah. So it's not only the banker and the lawyer and
blues lawyer.
That's simply not true. That's
okay.
Yeah.
So we have hopes
and doctors.
Yeah. We have hopes that some of the guitars actually get played and not just
Yeah, they. I mean, I used to be like a semi-professional guitar player, partly for a couple of years, but I'm as well a guy who works and plays guitar at home now. So, and my guitars don't get played as they should be, but I love them.
Yeah. They probably get jealous sometimes.
The guitars, yeah, they do. I have very nice pieces at home all the time.
Yeah. So, Simon, what is
so you
exactly...
get to bring them home? Wow.
Yeah, when I buy them, of course. Yeah.
Sure, they need to be tested, fully tested.
I would love to have time to test the guitars or even play them, but I don't. Yeah. Only the good ones.
How did you grow into being a vintage expert? Like, what is your earliest experience with like Fenders and Gibsons from earlier days? Because you were born in like what's your birth year? 80. Yeah. So you're not necessarily a guy who grew up with 60s Les Paul. So
no, absolutely not. Yeah, but when you're into Les Pauls, which was the case with me when I started guitar, when I saw Slash playing the Skull Pop at the Tokyo video, you learn to know that it's not the first year of the Les Paul. There's a big heritage, especially with the big American company, and I always. I have a big folder back then where I saved pictures of vintage Gibsons on my earliest computer. So I was always a fan of vintage guitars. It was always passion, reading books and of course I've been product manager for Gibson with the former distributor in 2006 or 7, I think. Yeah, and back then I was also familiar with the vintage guitars. Yeah, it grew.
Cool. So back in the day, just to clarify for some of the listeners, I think you were talking about, was that music and technique, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so super interesting to see how that like organically comes together, and you kind of you don't get that expertise from one day to another. You kind of have to earn it over the years, and
you have to see the guitars, play them, take them apart. You can't learn from books. That's just impossible.
Yeah.
So you have to have them in your hands, smell them, and that's true. Yeah.
What's the best smell? I mean, we have Tony Iommi perfume, but guitar-wise, what's the best smell?
Is I remember one day driving back from Paris, I had like 13 or 14 guitars in the back of my car, and the smell, this was just wonderful. Yeah, wouldn't leave the car. So I think it's the old Gibson arch tops. They smell really good to me. Yeah.
What do they smell like?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not. How's the guy called in the perfume movie or book? I don't know. Sweet.
Woody. Sweet.
Woody, yeah.
Yeah. It's not
Wow.
wood. It's certain. Don't stink. They just smell good.
I totally see a market for a perfume for vintage for guitar aficionados. You know?
That's what I thought. You remember the smell of the Gibson guitars back then? The custom shop guitars still smell like that. When you go to the custom shop, the whole building smells like that. But it changed during the years. It was the best in the late 2000s.
Okay.
That's geeky, right?
Yeah, that's super geeky. I love it.
Geeky, yeah.
But I mean, you
For
must
me,
have been
they-
like a dozen times in the custom shop, right? Did you
I
count
think
how
10
many times you visited?
Yeah.
10 times. All right.
Yeah. 10th jubilee last year. Yeah. During the pandemic.
Nice.
I love it. Well, for me, the smell is kind of like a cake. If I can liken it to something, it reminds me of a cake.
Okay.
Certain.
Oh, there's so many cakes.
That's my favorite.
Okay.
What a coincidence, you know, when Simon said he had 10th anniversary at the custom shop, I was imagining the guys from the custom shop presenting him a cake in the shape of a Les Paul guitar for his anniversary. No?
I asked for a present, but they said they have been there many more times than I never got a present,
that's
so
not
I
fair.
understood.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
That's
fair.
sad.
Simon, I want to know, and there's a few questions in the chat coming up, some great questions as well.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ones is, what was the most valuable lesson you learned as a vintage expert? So I don't know if that's based in a mistake or something you missed or the one that got away, but is there something that sticks out in your mind that educated you?
It's a good question. There are certainly some that I won't talk about, but it's a good question. I didn't make big mistakes in authenticating guitars because I always had a big respect of the whole material, and I never tried to pretend that I know something what I didn't know. So I think this is very important. I think sometimes you should give it a bit time because value constantly increases, and I don't know. I don't have the right answer for this question at the moment, I think, because it's so far so good.
Okay. No hurtful lessons to be learned so far.
No, definitely not.
If there was a like you didn't have like too many bad experience, but if there was some advice for our fellow listeners and for the YouTube audience, what would you recommend if someone would be in the market, not necessarily for high end, let's say bursts or something, but if he was interested in buying a vintage guitar, what's a good starting point to check what's the average price, to check what is the current market like? What would you recommend?
It's very tough at the moment to check online prices because the market is moving so quick. It's a very strange situation because prices increased so drastically during the last 2 years, actually, that you won't really find a comparison online. There are not many guitars online, and the prices you see are old prices. Even the Vintage Guitar Price Guide, which is an annual book that's been released by the Vintage Guitar magazine and shows prices and the pricing development, isn't up to date. It's when they release it, it's old. So I think the best starting point is look at the guitar that you like. It's not the investment that should be your main reason to buy a guitar. It should be you're interested in a certain guitar. You have to be happy with the guitar as an instrument, and I think the price point or the investment aspect should be maybe the second, because nobody can promise you any increase anyway. So and I would get in touch with an expert, a dealer, maybe, and get as much information as I can find.
I guess that's the advantage of coming to someone like yourself at GuitarPoint, is that all the worry or the ifs have been taken out of the equation because you've already done the homework. So when someone comes to buy a guitar from you, they know what they're getting. They know that everything's been checked and everything. You said you have a luthier on site as well. So what's the job of that person?
Oh, we have the big advantage is our luthier is employed by us, so it's not an independent luthier. So it also gives me the opportunity to buy guitars that need work, and he also inspects pretty much every acoustic that I have, and he does fret jobs. And so a lot of little things that make a great guitar even better. So it's always great to have a highly educated luthier, be accessible actually all the time, and he's a magician, so he can really make things much better within a couple of minutes.
That's great.
Yeah. But we also provide, as you mentioned, picture story of the guitar, all the details and certain spots on the guitar that verify their authenticity and their age and certificate and everything. So we put a lot of effort into this. It's a lot of work. People often think they can get a bargain deal on eBay or Reverb. And then they call us and ask if we can help. So
Dan, do you have a question or okay? No, well, I've got a personal experience that I'd like to share, because I've been to GuitarPoint. Simon and I have been looking at guitars together. I went on behalf of Thomann and was there with Chris Barocci, and I fell in love with two instruments at GuitarPoint. One, surprisingly, was a 70s Gibson SG bass, or whatever the Gibson were calling the bass shaped like an SG in the 70s. It had this big, fat, thick neck and this just wonderful body, perfectly balanced and weighted for someone tall like me. And even though I'm not a bassist by far, this instrument, this bass, just really spoke to me. And it was a price, I think it was about 1,700 euros, which, even though is a fair chunk of change, was not like the other side, which was like the Les Paul that Chris was playing, which was a 1960 Les Paul. So it was still in that area where I might be able to sleep in my own bed that night if I took it home, you know. So I seriously considered that SG bass. The other instrument was a 65 Jazzmaster. And I remember talking to you about that, and you were very good at your job, and you were like, you just keep playing it. And I was very much in trouble with that instrument, the Jazzmaster, because as a guitar player and as a Jazzmaster lover, this was the best Jazzmaster I'd ever played in my life, and not just by a little bit. It was leaps and bounds better than any other Jazzmaster I played, and I still regret that I didn't take it, even though I promise you I couldn't afford it. It was not even on the table for the Jazzmaster.
You should have bought it, because now it's like 30% more.
That would have been my justification. That would have been my justification, but I still would have been 100% more homeless, so it doesn't matter.
Of course, it doesn't matter.
But the question that I'm leading to is, Is there a funny way that you've had customers like justify themselves in purchases? Because I know, buying something, it was literally a dream guitar, this Jazzmaster, and I just needed a bit more money, but also an extra psychological push. Have you got any like funny stories or anything that people have left and come back, or ones that have got away?
Actually, like 99% of people who come to the shop already know what they want. So that's not really comparable to the regular music store where they just, I'm looking for a Strat or Jazzmaster. They usually want that 65 and they just want to confirm if it plays great and sounds good, and then they leave with the guitar. Of course, I gotta ask my wife. We hear that as well. Like every dealer who sells expensive products and fun products, but no, not really. Usually, they know what they want, and they already know everything about the guitar. Maybe, yeah.
Okay,
That in itself is interesting. Yeah.
Very comfy situation as a sales guy. If you have audience or customers that already know what they want, and they, it's your task to just push them, over the edge.
Yeah, well, they have. I think the main thing in our business is trust. So they come to our shop because they convince themselves that this might be the shop where they want to purchase a certain guitar. And it makes them more comfortable of course, we explain the whole procedure and show maybe alternatives. But most people end up with what they originally had in mind. Yeah.
And do you given the amount that some of those vintage guitars cost? Do you have a lot of returning customers, or is it more like the majority? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So like they purchase that one guitar that they always wanted, and then they're good to go.
There are some customers who just buy one guitar, and there are customers who bought 25 guitars so far. So it's addictive. We know that, guys. Come on. So I just recently read something about myself saying, this is my desert island guitar, which I never want to sell. I sold it 3 months ago, and I never looked back. So that's,
What was it?
It was a Gauf Les Paul custom shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice one. Like, considering that we're the Guitar Stories podcast, do you have like one very special guitar that has a special meaning for you, or has even a very special guitar story behind it that you personally own?
I would love to say that, but I own so many guitars and sold so many guitars that no, they don't stay that long.
Wow,
I got some very nice guitars now, but I didn't play them live because I just didn't have the time. And I have 3 kids now, so everybody who has 3 small children knows that it's tough to rehearse once a week or anything like that. So, but I always have nice guitars in the shop. I mean, I have access. I'm lucky to have and honored to have access to the best guitars on the planet, like every day. And every once in a while I grab a nice guitar and play it. And that's a great opportunity. Of course, that's our passion. I love guitars, and I'm so happy to be able to do that. So of course it's a lot of work and tough business, but you've got them around you, and just play a few licks. Helps a lot. You get a smile on your face, right? Yeah.
Okay.
I've got a nice guitar here. Should I show it to you?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Just a second.
Always.
All right, Andy, I think we got to go full screen because I
wonder
think
what
I
it's
know
gonna
what
be.
he's going to show us.
I'm gonna go full
I'm
screen. I'm just
back.
waiting for him to come back.
Didn't put it on the table.
Oh, that's me full screen.
Oh,
There is Simon full screen.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's a nice one. That's a
Could you
58 Les Paul standard.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a burst right here.
As in a real 1958 Les Paul standard.
Yeah, that's a real 1958.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Shoot.
It's got some nice flames. It's a bit tough because of the light.
Yeah, but we can see it.
I can see the flame. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks pretty clean.
If you're listening to the audio version of this, it's exactly, Dan. It's
It's not
extremely
really
clean.
too clean. Look at this.
On
So
the
it's
back,
been
no,
played.
but on the front, it looks amazing.
Yeah, Les Pauls don't look as beaten up as some Fenders do on the front. It's usually right here. So because it's played like this, and they never really have to have that many scars on the front.
Is that still the original pickguard that's installed?
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
You know, I just put it down if you don't mind.
Please.
Sure.
On the ground. An original pickguard is like 10,000 euros.
Wow,
So the original rings are like the same. So if it wouldn't be the original pickguard, of course, you would have to find one. Yeah.
Wow. Just to complete it. That we have a few stock questions, as we said, but this leads me on to a question about refinishes. And how much does a refinish generally affect the value of a guitar?
40 to 50%.
See?
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, if you wanna buy and play, or if you love a vintage guitar, the finish is a big part of it. How it feels, how it smells, especially on a bird. That's the reason. One of the reasons why they are so expensive, because they all look different, and especially on custom colors, that would be a nightmare. If you would have an original Fiesta Red Strat, which was stripped, it's not 50%; it's like 80% less.
Oh wow!
Because it's just a regular Strat then. Yeah.
Wow. But I guess it is a good way to get a bargain, I want to say.
Absolutely.
A good way to get a vintage instrument or something cheaper.
It's not what I would call a bargain, because they're also expensive now. But of course, it's a great opportunity. If you, for example, like many people, have a couple of Fender custom shop or master build Strats, for 2 master build Strats, you can get a great refin. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I see there's a question going around a lot about guitar prices of new guitar prices rising, and then people asking me, as if I know the answer, but asking me whether they should go for a custom shop or a vintage one, and I'm not qualified to answer, but my answer would be whichever one plays the best, I guess. So you really have to play them at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I have my personal opinion, but I wouldn't want this whole discussion. There are nice new guitars and nice old guitars, and bad old and new guitars, and the prices of, like when people say the custom shop guitar is like compared to the original is so much more affordable. It's not the tone that you pay for. It's the art. It's the antiquity. It's just a piece of history. That's the price, where the price comes from. And of course, they can sound incredible. So you don't stop playing. But everybody would need to make his own experience and opinion about that.
Yeah, and as you mentioned about the Jazzmaster I was talking about, it's increased in price, and once you make a purchase, whether it's as an investment or regardless, it always will be an investment, I would hope, because the price should logically increase. And sorry, please.
No, it should, but of course it's not constantly skyrocketing. That's for sure. But especially with guitars like you mentioned, the offset guitars, I think compared to their bigger brothers or sisters like the Strat and the Tellys, they were still relatively, I wouldn't say cheap, but more affordable. And the price points where they are now are, to me, more realistic for what they are. So they are
Right.
legit 60s Fenders, same wood as the Strats, which are like 4 times more expensive.
That's how I felt about that Jazzmaster. I also felt that I was getting a bargain because it was considerably. It was about it was about €5,000, which was about a quarter of the price of the equivalent Strat.
Yeah.
Well, there wasn't an equivalent, but as you're saying, same years, same woods. I felt it was a bargain. And a question was asked to me by a viewer, not in the chat, but recently. Was they asked me. They're looking at getting a 70s Fender because they found that the 50s and 60s Fenders were way out of their reach. What's your kind of advice? Is a 70s Fender a good, purely as an investment now? What's your opinion on that?
Well, before you did mention the investment aspect, I just got a 73 Strat. It's kind of a Frankenstein, but it's so good. I love it and can't stop playing it. And some of them, especially when they're pre-75 specs, which means they have still the staggered pole piece pickups and more the old look, not the black picker and the black pickups in hard plastics. There's great investments because they're still relatively lower priced. Well, they already went up to like 4 to 5K, but they can be great guitars. So the 3-point neck, it's, I have to say, it's just wrong that they're bad guitars. That's what people said in the 70s, 80s, because there were some very heavy ones which don't really sound that good. But there are also so many great ones. Same with Gibson. 70s Les Pauls, SG, great guitars. I had a couple of customers who sold their custom shop guitars to buy 70s Gibsons or Fenders. So it also attracts people who are, compare them. So there's a good and a great and a bad guitar in every year.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And do you think that there are some let's say overlooked guitar vintage pieces that could become like not a new burst, but a highly sought after item that is not necessarily now on the map for collectors?
Only when somebody is involved who makes people get attracted to these guitars, like an artist.
Okay.
There's always a reason why a guitar is popular. It's only because the guy who you always adored and you wanted to be when you were young played this guitar. And how many new bands are there? I mean, for Ibanez or Jackson guitars, maybe there are some new upcoming artists who play a certain style. But for vintage guitars, well, Jack White made some guitars more famous, but it doesn't mean that they're like way more expensive. Maybe certain models from a brand became more sought after and slightly more expensive. I think it's basically all the models, and it's that created this legacy and with a big heritage like Fenders, Gibson, and yeah.
I think that Jack White is a great example because to me he's one of those wanderers between both worlds, because he can pick up a old vintage, let's say Dan Electro or some of those guitars, or he can also show up on stage with a super cool EVH Wolfgang guitar, and it both is fitting his style, and he's got his tone on that instrument. He's not forced to play just one type of guitar, either vintage style or a modern style. He gets his vintage tone out of both directions.
But that's his style. That the
Yeah.
guitar actually doesn't matter. So it would be the same like Kurt
It's all in the
Cobain.
fuzz pedal, Simon. It's all in the
It's
fuzz.
all in the fuzz pedal. Yeah.
Actually, when I came to see you, there was an Arbiter fuzz face in one of the back rooms where you do where at least you did the photographs, and I desperately wanted to plug that in and have a go, but time didn't allow. But I'll never forget that fuzz face that I saw at GuitarPoint.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, we talked offline about the Zakk Wylde Les Paul that you had in, and it didn't last very long. Yeah. What's the fastest a guitar has ever sold that you had in and then was made available and then it was gone?
1 minute, 2 minutes. It's very often. We have a lot of customers who visiting the website twice or 3 times a day.
Wow.
And sometimes we're really surprised, of course, how fast the guitars really sell, because there's a constant demand for certain specific models, and they don't come in that often. I would have a huge waiting list, maybe for Les Paul Junior or something, Fender Deluxe Reverb. They never stay more than 24 hours. And and because the demand is a lot higher than availability, and that's obviously when something's in a good condition goes online. I can't even post them on Instagram.
But I think it's pretty remarkable to kind of or pretty important to kind of talk about that basic principle that those prices that you talked about that skyrocket at the moment, it's something that is kind of a natural process, because there are only so many guitars being built in a certain year, and the older people get and the more we progress in time, the fewer guitars are still in good condition. And that's also the reason why not necessarily just Fenders or Gibsons increase in price, but we also see those price increases in let's take the Vi, the old Ibanez Gems from '87, which is not definitely, as per definition, not a vintage guitar, but since they have already been around a couple hundred guitars, they are sought after now and also considered investments. Music Man Van Halen's, Ibanez Petrucci's.
I mean, it's what happened is pretty clear, because the pandemic really caused a higher demand because people wanted to make themselves more comfortable, more happy when they were at home. They're thinking about something different, maybe buying an instrument that they always wanted. But it's also the financial situation, and people really invest in things, in goods like watches, like cars, like guitars. And it doesn't have to be the vintage guitars, but it's also limited custom shop runs. And look how the collector's choice or certain master build models increased in price. It's crazy. It's sometimes some of them go for like 30 or 40,000 euros for a new guitar. And so that's just a situation in many different markets, not only the guitar market.
Yeah, agreed.
You say that you mainly focus on the Fender and the Gibsons for vintage guitars, but looking towards the future of GuitarPoint and also the future of vintage guitars that are not yet vintage, do you see that expanding, or will it always be Fender and Gibson, or do you think like PRS and Ibanez might creep in there, or what's your prediction?
I think this is just my way of doing it. There might be different brands that are also interesting. I have Rickenbacker, I have Gretsch guitars, I have Martins, I have so only that we focus on certain models because we want to fulfill the demand of our customers doesn't mean that there are other brands which are also interesting, great builders. Guild is a great brand when you look for old guitars, because they are just as good as some of the competitive Gibson models, but they're way less expensive. And I wouldn't say it's just the general fact. It's just our portfolio, and yeah, there are surely some other brands.
I think you also made a point that it's about authenticity and about knowing your shit. And I think with widening the portfolio, there also comes a requirement for adding more knowledge.
Absolutely.
Because there are so many. Talking about Music Man guitars, you got to be aware which colors faded and how many been produced.
Yeah.
We talk about the original gems. You got to know how the original color looks like, because the refinish is pretty much like with an old Gibson. If it's not the original color, it doesn't pop.
Yeah.
It doesn't mature the same style. So it's kind of tricky to get all that knowledge together. Is if you add a new brand.
Absolutely, and I think you should have a deep knowledge for what you're doing when it comes to very high prices, investments. People should really get what they pay for. And so we really try to describe the guitars as exactly as we can, and sometimes it sounds more negative than it actually is. So when I read the description, I'm like, well, would I buy this now? But it's such a beautiful guitar and everything's right, but I just want to make sure people, it's not a huge text with some hidden issues. It's such a great guitar, but there's a nice repaired headstock crack, but the guitar is so good, and we try to make it accessible, pretty easy what the guitar is about.
Okay, that's really cool.
You showed us this nice 1960. Was it 1960 Les Paul?
58.
Oh, 58. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, what would the price tag of that guitar be like?
It's 289K.
289?
2008, 89, 200,000. 89.
289,000 euros.
All right, that's a house.
That is a house.
You can get even an apartment over here for this price. Maybe a garage or something. But it would be nice if it would be a house. You can imagine.
Well, it depends where you're from. Yeah.
It's an expensive guitar, no question. But the last 3 or 4 bursts I had sold within 1 week. So it's really there's a market for these guitars, and they're hard to get. And this one has a great story in Europe. It's been in Europe for decades, and so it's a nice background, and it's a very good sounding. It's 3.6 kilos, so it's one of the lightest bursts in existence, I would say. I don't think there are many that are really lighter than this. 3.6, it's crazy.
Actually, I wanted to pick that up and wanted to ask you if you have you have artists that visit GuitarPoint, and do you have like a white list of artists that have a specific request to be called when a certain guitar comes in? And we're not talking about.
You don't call anybody when a guitar comes in, because of course sometimes I have regular customers who returning customers who ask for a certain model, like maybe Sunburst Les Paul. But usually I try to make the instruments accessible for everybody, because it's important to have the first customer for a guitar like this as well. So when we upload a guitar, they're usually available, and it's not really a lot of artists. Of course, I think every like German guitar player from the bigger bands is our customer. Some of international artists as well, but it was never my intention to name drop or use artists to make us more popular. to me, it's I want to sell nice guitars.
Mm.
So the guitars should be our advertisement. The guitars we have, the authentication of the guitars, and that we make them accessible for people, that we find them and we offer them.
That's
But I
extremely
like
honourable
artists.
to make it accessible to everybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be very easy to have an exclusive club, but it's nice to know that
Sure.
you're making it open for everybody. That's very cool.
Mm.
A question for like, if someone were to not go to GuitarPoint and not buy something from you, but were looking at something on, say, Reverb or eBay or their local classifieds, what is your instant walk away advice? Like, if someone goes to look at something, what is something you would spot that you would instantly walk away?
Personally, I feel if a neck, for example, is refinished within 1 second. If I touch the guitar, I know. But that's me. That's my job. But if you're looking to purchase a guitar online, and for example, the seller doesn't provide high quality, detailed pictures, and it happens quite often. I always wonder what phones people have. I mean, even the iPhone from 3 years ago makes incredibly good pictures, and sometimes I get pictures. It looks like a Nokia phone or something like that. But always ask for detailed pictures. I don't recommend buy a vintage guitar online when you don't know about vintage guitars, because chances that you get screwed are high, especially when it's not in your country, and people import guitars from the United States, and well, I don't know. I mean, you should do your homework. It depends on the certain model. There are different areas and different parts of certain models that have to be looked after. It depends on the year. It depends on what I want to see when I look at a guitar. So I'm looking for certain spots, and sometimes you even get a feel when you look at the guitar and you open a Strat pickup for the first time and you look at it, and sometimes they just look so right that you already know it's good. Yeah, you have to look at the pickups, like Strat pickups. You have to look at the coils. Like rewound pickups are very often a problem that people just don't see. And even if some of the sellers or most of the sellers don't even know that there's something wrong with the guitar. So it's not always criminal intention. It's also even the first owners can't remember that they had some work done 25 years ago. And they're surprised when you tell them, oh yeah, well, there was something. The wives know usually because they're paid for
it. But I mean, that's pretty common because back in the day, those instruments were tools for the musicians. So if they had to fix something just to make music, they would just get it done. Yeah. But I think it's very valuable advice to make sure that, I mean, not even you would buy a vintage guitar just online. Usually you take, you accept those hour-long drives to meet sellers to kind of be able to inspect the instruments.
I buy a lot of guitars online.
Oh, you do?
Based on pictures, but I never pay before I didn't inspect it.
There you go, and that's what the usual consumer can't do. They ask for PayPal or
of course. So and even if they would inspect it, they wouldn't really know because they might be not experts. And so I get a lot of nowadays. Of course, shipping is easy, and I buy guitars from across all over Europe actually. So based on pictures, detailed pictures, and usually I don't return a lot. Some, of course, because I didn't expect things that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, usually pictures, yeah, colors are difficult. If it's a refin, pictures maybe don't really tell. But yeah, I'm in a good position that I can check the guitars in the shop then, or travel there and check them.
Yeah. Simon, what's the best way, in your opinion, to send a guitar? So you must receive and send guitars of extreme worth all the time. What's the best way to package a guitar? Because I've received guitars that were not that worth that much, but it was just put in a case and then a postage label stuck on the case.
I received a 59 Les Paul Custom from Northern Europe, and it was like a 60K guitar, something like that. And he just put the case in the box and shipped it. And I opened it and I was so upset that I immediately called him and was like, what did you do? You know? Yeah. And yeah, he wasn't even aware that it was a bad mistake. I don't know. No, some guitars are like a Strat or Tele, nothing happens. What should happen? I mean, they're undestroyable, actually, unless something huge happens. But Les Paul, SG, especially SGs, because of the reconstruction, when we ship the guitars, we unscrew the machine heads and we put them in the case, so the customer has to do a little bit of work. Because this is definitely very helpful to avoid headstock cracks. Like Firebirds are the worst, nightmare, because they have like very heavy machine heads, and yeah, we unmount them and put them in the case. You have to loosen the strings with Gibson guitars to lower the tension on the headstock. You have to make sure that loose parts are wrapped separately, for example, with arch tops, with floating bridges. Yeah, so we ship a lot of guitars and a lot of high-priced guitars. I gotta say that all the very high-priced guitars are usually shipped by not by UPS, you know. So we have a different logistics partner. UPS is pretty reliable, actually. So we exclusively ship everything else with UPS, and we have very, very few damages. So it's you have to use proper material, good case, and just to make sure to use as much professional packing material as possible. Don't use the plastic stuff on the surface of the guitar, because that leaves the bubble imprints on the lacquer, which is not removable sometimes, especially when it's hot. That's a bad mistake people make, and even professional dealers.
So do you mean wrapping a guitar in bubble wrap? Is that?
Yeah, you shouldn't do that. It's like paper on the guitar. No plastic bubble wrap on the lacquer. That's important. Sometimes really the bubbles react with the lacquer, and if it stays somewhere like for 3, 4, 5 days, and it's like 30 degrees outside, they marry.
That's a good point. Yeah, very good point.
Yeah.
Also, I'd assume that any kind of newspapers with the ink, that's also something that could react if
it's possible. I mean, usually the vintage lacquer, people ask me a lot how they clean the guitar. When they survived 50 years, you won't be the guy who harmed the lacquer, because they're not really. It's not a big deal usually. Also, humidity and it doesn't matter to me, because they went through everything. You know, they're dry. Yeah.
One important question that is often overlooked: how would you recommend placing or holding a vintage guitar? Is it ideally? I mean, ideally you should keep it in a case, of course. But if you really want to gig with it, if you want to play it, how would you put it? With wall hangers or guitar stands, or what's the best way?
Guitar stands are a bad idea when you have children, but I think it's, or cats or lions, I don't know. But I put all my personal guitars, and I own some vintage guitars too, on wall hangers. And I think guitars in cases are, of course, if you have them as an investment and you want to store them away, you should do that. But I had a lot of guitars that I bought that stayed their whole life in the case, and they were terrible. They had terrible necks. They had back bows, especially, and put them somewhere where you can see them, because they're beautiful. That's so beautiful. I mean, you know that, guys. Look at the wall. Look at your guitars. You're like, oh man, I love this. I have to pick it up and play it, and that's makes you playing them. And so if you have a safe environment like guitar stands, I have them in the shop also on the walls, and even the 58 Les Paul is in the guitar stand, and there's no special like thing like cork or something on the stand. It sits right there because nothing happens. Yeah. I mean, treat them with respect, don't get me wrong. We have to take care of the guitars. Absolutely, but it's absolutely okay to display them and look at them.
I really like to hear that from a acclaimed vintage expert, that you shouldn't kind of overthink sometimes. Treat them with respect, because even with regular poly guitars, where is it this way?
Yeah.
You get requests. Okay, can I use any guitar stand, or will the lacquer kind of be affected by it if it's not nitro proof? And
but you've seen the especially the Gibson custom shop guitars with the ugly imprints from some of the stands, and you really don't want to have that. And you don't see that on vintage lacquer because it's totally different lacquer. It's also called nitro, but it's just not the same. And I know a lot of custom shop guitars with these issues, and so this is something I would personally avoid as well, of course. Yeah. And there are some guitars that I don't display in the shop if they are like collectors' guitars, like certain custom shop models, for example, which are built for collectors. Why should you play 20K reissue or of a certain artist model? You usually don't do that, and you display it or just enjoy it a different way. And I don't want anybody to destroy the guitar before I sold them.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great way to end the show, just displaying the guitars, appreciating the guitars. And I love the way that you're looking at these things as not just investments, in fact, more so as a playing instrument and something that should be used to make music rather than just please a doctor or a dentist. But I felt like Dan and I have drowned you in questions tonight. I think this is the most questions we've ever asked a guest before, but just everything you say is so interesting, and there's a little bit of myth busting in there as well, and certainly it's very clear that you know what you're talking about, and I hope you've enjoyed yourself, and I hope this has served as a good promotion for GuitarPoint as well, because I know that anyone watching or listening will now think, damn, that guy knows what he's talking about. So yeah, Simon, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me again, and time for a glass of wine now.
Just one last question: how many plane tickets have you bought for guitars?
Oh, a lot. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think the pandemic miles program made me a senator, so it's okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
All
if you want to catch anything that we've been talking about in this show, then you can go to guitarpoint.com and you'll see all the wonderful guitars that last about a minute or two, so be quick. Dan, will you please ask people to rate the show on iTunes? Thank you all.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed this show, you want to make sure that we have more guests and more informative episodes, make sure to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or give us a episode review on Spotify, because this will help us to get more exposure and be able to invite guests like the wonderful Simon to share their knowledge with us in further episodes. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks.
All right, Simon, enjoy your glass of wine. I'm going to go and watch Snowpiercer, Dan, on Netflix.
In the beginning of the show, I had a delay like 3 times. It was like, but it went better. Yeah.
Good.
Awesome.
It must have been the space echo pedal that I was.
Yeah, I don't
about.
know.
It's my fault. All right. Well, thank you to the
everyone.
people who watched
See ya.
live in the chat. Thank you if you're listening to the audio version. Do all the things you need to do with the social media, and we will see you very soon on the Guitar Stories podcast. Bye, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.
Guitar Stories Podcast, your #1 show for everything guitar.